Sylvia Wong, and I am the Digital Marketing Manager here at NVISION. Today you are joining us for a conversation about AdWorld Conference. So I have a bunch of my team members here, and I can't wait to introduce you to all of them. And we're going to talk about what we liked about it, if it's worth attending, and just recap everything that we loved about AdWorld Conference. So welcome, team. Okay, the person I have popped up is Marino. So Marino, can you give us an introduction?
For sure, my name is Marino. I'm an email marketing specialist at NVISION. And at NVISION, I take care of our clients' needs regards to email, helping them to creating email marketing strategies that engage people.
Thanks, Marino. Okay, next up, let's have Brian do an intro.
Hey guys, I'm Brian Jones. I'm the paid digital advertising specialist here at NVISION. What that means is I manage all the Facebook, Google advertising campaigns. I also support the team with, analytics and Google Tag Manager and, all those tools that we use here.
Awesome. Let's throw it to Michael next.
Hello, my name is Michael. I am the digital content producer here at NVISION. I focus mainly on doing video production and photography for our own digital marketing and for our clients.
Hey, Michael. Okay, let's throw it to Daniel.
Hello, I'm Daniel Vecchio. I'm the SEO specialist here at NVISION. So I look after your keywords, your SEO, also your blogs. So I work with our content specialist, Steve. So to deal with SEO, I'm here.
Well, welcome, Daniel. And lastly, we have Bowie here too. Bowie, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm the social media marketing specialist here on the team. I've worked with B2B, I've worked in local, I've worked in government, and most of my job right now is really focusing on building good connections between an audience and a brand.
Welcome, Bowie. So I'm so excited to have the whole team participating and kind of giving their individual perspectives on things. So today we're talking about AdWorld Conference, which we all attended last week. And I think it was the perfect conference for us as a team to attend, just because there were all of these different streams. So to kind of break it down, once we got into AdWorld, this was, I think, an in-person conference before, and it's gone completely online just because of COVID, as have all virtual or all conference type events. But the reason we all attended was just because there were streams for all of us. So there was, the advertising stream. There was something that was a little bit more content marketing. So that really applied to, our SEO team, our digital content producers, our social media. There was the paid stream, the affiliate marketing, and then there was also a lot about agencies. So I found it to be really a great one for all of us to attend and discuss afterwards. Does anyone want to chime in and talk about their personal experience in any one of the streams?
I guess I can start it off to warm everyone up to the whole video vibes. I found it particularly interesting because there are some streams that kind of touch on all of our roles, and my focus is mostly just like ROI and obviously just paid advertising core themes. But there were streams about how to have better video ads, how to analyze your data better, and they're not things that I focus on every day. But to have someone who is an expert in that super niche area talk about those things, it really opened my eyes up to all the different alternatives and just best practices. And there's just so many learnings that I don't even know where to begin.
I think it kind of helped us in the sense that because there were so many streams that had a little bit of overlap between people, there was this sense of us thinking about our other team members and not siloing ourselves from each other, right? And saying oh, Michael, you might want to watch this because it was relevant to you as well, or vice versa. I was chatting with Daniel about something, and it was at the last conference that we actually attended. We did some other SEO conference together that was completely virtual as well. And we were just chatting on Slack, and I said to Daniel, it's so funny attending a virtual conference because really the essence of going to a conference was about hanging out with your coworkers, leaving the office for a day, networking. And at that last one, I don't think we got the vibe of that. Like, it felt very like we were just like on our computers for the day and we were just watching videos. Daniel or anyone else, do you want to share how you felt about this as a virtual conference?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Like I agree with you. Like before, like attending other conferences in person. Yes, like I'm a very people person as well. So when I
Yeah,
meet
you
someone
are.
face to face, it's a totally different experience of like networking, right?
Yeah.
But yes, like I felt like I was just siloed in my laptop and just us communicating through Slack of like, yes, hey, you should check out this video, check out this stage 2, stage 3, you know. So we're just talking amongst each other. So yes, I did miss that part, and also like sometimes they give like free food and like swag and stuff
I
like that when
know.
you're there too. So I kind of missed out on that. But other than that, yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I really missed that part of it, but I still feel like just the different streams of it, we had this chance to, have common ground and chat a little bit this time. Anyone else have that kind of experience this time around?
I actually got to experience this conference a couple years back in person.
Yeah.
So I've seen the difference in live versus over the web. And the big thing is you're missing that human element. I think a lot of the conference, especially this one, if you go to in person, you see how many different vendors and stuff there are, and you end up engaging with things that you might not have known that you would be interested in. Just because there's somebody literally saying, "Hey, check out this thing," whether that be like a freebie or whatever, you end up learning a whole bunch of new stuff, which is super valuable. However, I did really like the aspect of, since it was all online and we didn't need to worry about getting to a specific part of an event center or an event center, that, for example, Marino sent me a really cool conversation that I got to watch. There were tons of conversation in the chat about, hey, you'd love to see this conversation. So I think that was a really valuable thing that's unique to an online conference. But yeah, I do miss mainly the swag. I miss the swag.
Did anyone get anything good for free? Anyone? I think there was like a little marketplace tab and you can try out some like free trials and stuff like that. I just ordered my free TikTok t-shirt, so.
Oh shoot. Yeah, I tried to get the TikTok swag and I like set up my TikTok business profile for NVISION, got it all going, just nothing. I think I missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, well, I would share my t-shirt with you, but I don't think we were the same size. So I want to go do a roundtable. I want to know everyone's favorite talk, like something that added a lot of value for them or kind of opened their mind up to something. Anyone want to share?
Yes, maybe I can start. I really like the presentation, The Wheel of Persuasion, conducted by Alexandra Catone. It was really good from the perspective how to compose a good copy that conveys what you intend, and at the same time create a good level of engagement. She walks through 6 steps, if I'm not wrong. It's a really, really interesting approach how to develop and create a good content.
Yeah. Are you going to add some of that to your own frameworks?
Definitely. I
know you're great with frameworks already, so like adding to that one would be great.
Yes.
That's awesome. Anyone else have any highlighted talks that they really enjoyed?
Miriam and Tessa put together a talk on a strategy for brand purpose. That was really fantastic. They really spoke about having a more holistic approach to your brand and why that has value, because it's how both your audience might experience that as well as internally in the company. It really has to be more than just words on a piece of paper for the marketing department.
Yeah, I think that's like a really big conversation you and I, Bowie, have been having frequently now with our whole team, with George, and with our clients. Like that understanding of what a brand is really about, without it being like hollow promises, just your very typical core values, and more depth than that. So great! I can't wait to hear more about that. Okay, who else wants to share their favorite talks?
I can go next. I watched a great talk by a guy named Travis Chambers, and his talk was all around different types of ad types that work for e-commerce businesses. And one thing that I've been trying to grow my chops in is, just Shopify advertising and e-commerce, and specifically on the video side of things. Everyone at the company knows I'm always trying to push video, but it's just, we do a lot of Google advertising, and our search ads are phenomenal, but sort of making our Facebook campaigns more creative and move away from just like sponsored ad images or like GIFs, and just try to be more creative. And there's so many things you can do. And it's just nice to hear from an expert that, says he spent like $100 million in ad spend. We're getting there, but we're not quite there yet. So I don't have that level of insight. And it was really nice to see that.
Yeah, I think the pieces are starting to fall in place here too, with like Michael and his talent with video editing, and Brian, you're feeling that and wanting to get a little piece of it. Who else wants to share about their favorite talks over the last 3-day conference?
Oh, I enjoyed like most of them, to be honest with you, because I felt like I picked up something from each talk that I went to and listened to. So like it was a great refresher, and also like because there's so many updates like with Google and algorithm updates, I'm like what to look out for, and different ways of driving organic traffic in, and just they're really focusing on like user experience and the journey through the website. So understanding your users, how they go through the pages, and how they really interact with your website, and also like just it's not just about like keywords, right? Like a lot of people just think it's all about keywords with SEO, and there's a lot more to that to gain your domain authority, or there's a lot of like link building or internal linking. So I felt like I picked up something off each person of like to just to not really change my strategy, but it's a nice refresher, and also a good education of like picking up new trends for 2021 of like how to drive traffic in. So
yeah, and I think that it kind of builds off the whole topic of like being in different streams and then understanding what everyone else is doing. So how our agency is structured is that, like, Daniel, you're the SEO specialist. We've got Brian, the paid specialist. All of us have our specializations, but that's never to say that, Daniel, you only know SEO, or that anyone else's roles aren't impacted by it, because all of these different services that we offer, they really like intertwine with each other. And like when we can do the most for our clients, it's when we can think of like how all of those services work together or impact each other. Like paid campaigns are not without consideration of how they involve your SEO or your social or your email campaigns. And for every client, like we're kind of always addressing like how they interlink with each other, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy because SEO and Google Ads go hand in hand. But it's interesting because the SEO and SEM were in the same were one after another. Mm-hmm. So I remember one morning it was just like SEO videos, and I was like learning all about like these like metas and things, and I'm like, oh, Dan uses that word a lot. I think this one is important, and it's just really nice to sort of just hear all these different things and really just understand everything at the 2021 level, because I did my SEO fundamentals a few years ago. So things change so quickly. When you're not specializing in that field, you can almost fall back a little bit.
That's a big difference between like an agency and then like being in-house marketing somewhere, right? Like when you're in-house, you are a generalist and you basically know it all. But like for us, there's like a huge importance in going deep instead of broad. So like having Marino specifically knowing everything about email, like today Marino, you're like messaging me about like privacy policies and Castle and all of that. Like that depth has been really important. So I think a conference to support all of that is huge. It's just like tons of reminders. Okay, so moving into some other things, I wanted to just kind of know from like my own purposes what everyone thought of how the Q&As worked, because I think in like a real conference, I've sat in a lot of like talks where there's a panel, right? And there's like a bunch of people, they're sitting, physically on stools next to each other. And when you do a Q&A, they actually go through and answer everything. But I think the way that technology has allowed the Q&A to exist in this format was there was just like an ongoing forum. Anyone want to talk about that? Because I thought it was so interesting. I went into one Q&A and I was like, I can't keep up. There was like a stream of questions and they're like, whichever ones get like the most likes or whatever, we'll answer them. And I was like, where are we answering them? Like, it wasn't verbally. I think it was like in a chat. Anyone go into any Q&As?
I was just say I agree with you of trying to keep up. Like, I felt like it was just like constant bombardment of like questions, and I was just trying to scroll and like keep up to see like the answers, and also just to see what type of questions people are asking as well, right? Just to see if people have the same questions as me. But it's just like trying to keep up with the conversation was like really hard. So I just went into different streams after. Not gonna lie, just to like for like email or social, because like you said earlier, like how we intertwine with each other. Like I got excited of like, new tactics. So I was like so excited to like start working on new tactics for our company, right? So
I'm glad you felt the same. Like I went into, I think the first couple, because I was like, okay, let's see what the Q&A is like. And I was like, I don't know which ones are going to get answered. And it just looked like trying to follow like a forum or a chat. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. It's not quite the same experience.
Yeah, it's I'd say, the Q&A was definitely harder to follow if you really just wanted good answers. But at the same time, I remember, like, I don't know, one of the last in-person conferences I did, I was like so scared and nervous to put up my hand. Like I had 3 questions I really wanted to ask, but I was like surrounded by like CEOs and stuff like that. And I'm like an intern. I'm like, I don't want to ask this question. Like, so in the comment, people were just going in and like replying, like, oh, I have that question. So from a community perspective, it was really nice. But if you're just trying to get the answers, it was tricky.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like it's a lot more accessible and it doesn't feel so intimidating. It's just it was like a stream. Like the floodgates opened as soon as the Q&A opened, and I was like, huh? All right. So in terms of biggest takeaways from everyone, I'm kind of curious, like what did everyone find to be like their biggest, most important takeaway, or like a big quote or something that they found to be like really interesting?
I was watching one conversation about content optimization and about the value of optimized content.
Yeah.
And they made a really interesting point about 2 different sorts of video content or any sort of digital marketing content online. And I thought it was really interesting to frame it in this context. They might sound like nothing, but I think they really hit the nail on the head of something that I've been trying to figure out for a while, where I think we talk about short form content and long form content a lot. But what does that mean? Like, is it a timestamp? Is it like a number of minutes you need to achieve? Is it a number of points you need to talk about?
Yeah.
And they broke it down into lean back content and lean forward content. And I thought that was a really interesting approach to it. So as the name would suggest, lean back content is the type of content that you sit back and you watch almost like a TV show or a movie. So platforms like YouTube are great homes for this. It's content that you're listening to the audio, you're following along, you're probably going to watch a large bulk of it. So people will be willing to sit down for, I think the number they gave was 7 to 12 minutes, but it doesn't have to be a hard number. You see YouTube videos that are half an hour to an hour that get millions of views, and that just goes to show that it really isn't about a number. It's about framing it as content that people are willing to sit back and watch. Whereas lean forward content is content that you'll watch most likely on a phone, where you're physically most likely leaning forward into it. You're going to be scrolling quickly.
Yeah.
You don't have that same attention span. And so as a result, you're looking at content that, again, you don't need to put a number onto it, but that is going to look like 5 seconds to 4 minutes of content, because nobody's going to want to watch an hour-long video on a phone. If people have that mentality of I'm leaning forward to watch this. So I thought that was an interesting way of reframing it, and it's definitely something I'm going to consider in our future videos, as opposed to thinking in terms of we'll have a short version or a long version. It's thinking about content in terms of lean back and lean forward. And I think that connects a lot about a lot of the work that Bowie's doing in taking clips out of existing content and creating new content for social. I think having that mindset in mind is really impactful. So I know that was a small part of the presentation, but I thought it was really, really powerful.
Agree. I think that's a huge takeaway. Like, we were trying to discuss recently YouTube Shorts, like Reels, TikToks, like all these different formats, because there's this pressure for all businesses to be on every channel. Bowie probably has a lot to say about that part too. Like just this pressure to be everywhere all at once. But one of the ways we thought to split it up was content that's on places where people are typically listening with audio on versus audio off. And that's like even a different way of separating things than like lean back and forward, because there are a lot of platforms where you're scrolling them and you just absolutely don't have the sound turned on because you're just like scrolling for the visuals or for reading. And like YouTube is like a sound on, TikTok is a sound on, Instagram is a sound off, Facebook, I don't know, it depends on if you're watching videos. So super interesting. Anyone else have any major takeaways?
It's so interesting about the sound off and on thing. That's so true, and I found that super interesting as well. With regards to one of the videos that I watched, people we're in sort of an information age. You know, people when it comes to ads and products, people are a lot more skeptical than they used to be, and so you know, there's all this this notion of trust, and you want to be transparent with your ingredients and stuff like that. And with regards to advertising, case study type ads are starting to perform really well. You know, as a lot of us know, everyone loves a good unboxing video because they want to see what that experience is like. But more than ever, people want to be able to see how the product or service fits in their lifestyle. So the more that you can make a product, you know, you position your product with your consumer in photos. You'll see that a lot on Instagram. People that look like the consumer will be like holding the phone or like holding whatever it is. So as you're on Instagram, you're like, oh, I could see that product like fitting into my life. And you know, once you do that, those ads perform way better than a lot of others. A bunch of videos said conversion rates increased by 30% and stuff. And I saw those numbers and was like, oh, yeah, I definitely.
I love learning stats like that, where I remember there being like old ones for like Instagram way back when, where it was like, if there's a person in the photo, it gets like this many more likes or whatever. And I think the weird one on Pinterest was like, if it's a person, but their head is cut off, like you would get more likes because people could see themselves in it, sort of thing, like if it was product wise. So like I always find those like little bits of like psychology really interesting, and I'm sure for ads it's like depending on your target audience it's different too. Any other big takeaways? I'm interested to know for Bowie or Marino what you thought was a big learning for you.
For me, I considered, because of COVID and everything that changed after this pandemic, the changes from the shopper behavior, everything that's changed in terms of the way how they are searching, they are looking for more information before proceed with the purchase itself, and the way how they are thinking. Because if I have more information, probably chances are that I need more tangible information to make a decision. So the buyer now, they have a different level of information because compared to before. So it's a completely different new environment that definitely affects us and impacts us as marketers.
Yeah, it was only a year ago when everything kicked in and there were all the closures. And for all of our clients, we had to look at them individually and say, what, like, are they open? What's their messaging? How do we get it on their site right now? Do we need to email it out? Do we need to make signs for them? How do we get it on Google My Business? And I think like technology is trying to keep up with that even still. Like the whole Google My Business has started to have like little updates so that it's like you can quickly tell if a place is open or not, takeout or not, where the menus and stuff are. And I think that's so important. Bowie,
one of my
what were your biggest takeaways?
I think one of my bigger takeaways was that conversations lead to conversions. I think with a lot of the work we do, sometimes we get caught up in getting immediate results of actual conversions, whether it's an email or a purchase. But something that is always top of mind for me is that your audience might not convert right now, but by starting that conversation, by starting that relationship, you're beginning to build community that can convert later.
Yeah, I think that's like maybe a misconception by many business owners that getting on social means that suddenly you're going to have an audience, that you're going to quickly make sales and it's going to close, where social should always be looked at as a community that you build. And then that purchase, that sale, that service that closes with you doesn't happen soon. Like it's just something that you can stay on their radar and be like, in that realm of their awareness for a really long time. And I think even more so than SEO, it requires a bit of that patience, right?
Absolutely.
Who else? Daniel, did you share your big takeaway?
I feel like I shared it a couple times, but like what I wanted to say, one thing that really stuck out to me, I think I mentioned to you during Slack or on a call, was domain authority wasn't everything. And before we used to focus about, DA, domain authority, and then just link building. But now they're really, like I said, like not too long ago, was like the user experience, how they are on our website, making sure our content is fresh and rich and very engaging. So coming out with like quality content all the time, and also just that, reviewing user experiences and making sure the intent's there, because search intent now with the new algorithm is really important, because Google wants to make sure that what users search, they're getting actually the content they're looking for, and not just some random thing that they're actually not looking for, right? So I think that was like my biggest takeaway, because like in the past it was all about just domain authority and building up that rep and like link building, and I'm happy the way Google updated with their algorithm with that intent, and making sure when people type in a keyword, they're actually getting what they're looking for. So I'd say that that's my biggest experience.
I think like so often with SEO, it's like there's so many tactics involved. Like everyone that's like a beginner in it is going to look up some list that's like, okay, change your metas. Like this is how long a meta, this is how many characters, this is what your H1s have to be. This is like a keyword, use this tool. And there's so many tactics that they forget what Google's goal is, which is that when you ask it a question, like their ultimate goal is that first spot is exactly what you're looking for. And so they're just trying to figure out like the most valuable thing. And if you just stop and think about SEO that way, like Google's intent is to try and give the user exactly what they want, and that, then it just makes your job easier. You have to make valuable content to be in that spot, right? Yeah, which is also increasingly getting like complicated for SEOs with voice search and stuff.
Yeah.
So voice search is something to keep in mind, but that's
for sure. And also like tools, what experts use. So it's good to know that like the top tools that other experts use, like SEO experts or marketing experts, they use like, I'm glad we use the same tools as them. So it's like, yes, like, NVISION, we got it, So just to learn like also like their tactics using certain tools, I took that away as well, of like how they use certain, like, besides like Bright Local, SEMrush, and, Screaming Frog, like how they use these and what they look for. That I felt like that was a good refresher for myself of like, just to see their different tactics. So like I said, like I got excited, took those takeaways. I really want to implement it with our own clients, right? So that's another takeaway I took from it. So
I would say for myself, answering my own questions, like some of the most valuable talks that I walked away from were ones that were a lot more high level about like agency and how an agency is run. But bottom line to me was like making sure that you're always like delighting your clients and making them stay in the loop. So a huge part of our industry is education. And that being like one of the foundational, like our core values. It's so important for us to constantly be learning, but then to not forget that our clients need to know that information as well. Like it's so important for us to pass that on. Anyone have takeaways that they want to pass on to our clients?
I guess I can start. There were a couple of videos on this, and this is a big point of conversation right now in the media buying space. But
Yeah.
it's this notion of moving towards a cookieless future. So
I know.
everyone knows about like Cambridge Analytica and like did Facebook hear my conversation? Because now I'm getting ads about it, like all that kind of stuff. So historically, we've used cookies in browsers to basically send information from Facebook or Google to the website and then back. So if you make a purchase or if you add something to your cart and then you get ads for a couple of days to just remind you to make that purchase. That's what we used to do, but now with iOS 14 and increased privacy considerations, which are very important, but as a marketer, you're like, shoot, we're making the shift towards what's called server-side tracking. So, with Facebook's conversion API, we're starting to get super like into the code of the site. So basically, Facebook can now interact with the server of the website and kind of like skirt under restrictions a little bit. So on a privacy side, you have this like privacy battle versus analytics, and as a marketer, you're just like, I just want to know the ROI. So it's like a constant mouse versus cat scenario. But on the cat side, we're making some strides against these iOS 14 rules.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a huge topic of conversation, and very much so. We don't have all the answers yet. It's like we're just still waiting to find out and like staying ahead of it as much as possible so that, nothing's detrimental to how we track things, how we report, and like how, our campaigns are going. Good takeaway. Anyone else have things that they would love our clients to know about that we've learned? Yo, no one?
Okay. I'm kidding. There's so many learnings. Let's hear it, Dan. You're just hyping up so much stuff to me.
No, just like if I could give some advice to some clients, if I could do that, that'd be great. If you are writing your own blogs, like if you're writing your own blogs, think about your clients first more than like your colleagues or other competitors or anyone in your field. Like try to write towards your client. I would say like back to like the search intent and like coming up with rich content that would engage in your industry and you think that the information that your clients will need, right? Like shoppers would need. So like I would say that if you are taking blogs into your own hands and writing towards your clients, I would obviously always think of clients first, just like how we do. So like we always think we try to put ourselves in our clients' shoes or the industry shoes. And I'm not a pool expert. I am not anything to do with like yoga pants and stuff like that, but I have to put myself in those shoes to understand more of the journey, understand more about the clients and the products. So that's probably the only thing I would say to our clients.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great takeaway.
Yeah, just to extend on what Daniel was saying, I think it's not limited to blogs. It's something on social that's really important because at the end of the day, too many people are thinking and speaking just to their own peers, but they're trying to solve things for their audience and give value to their audience. Otherwise, their page really loses prominence in that space.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think we come across this so often that when you start to speak towards your expertise, whatever it is your business is, whatever it is that you do, and you put yourself out there in content marketing, the tendency is to talk about what you know, and then you seem to attract just your peers and not your clients. Is that a problem? I wouldn't say like necessarily it is, because I mean, in your expertise, Bowie, I'm always saying it doesn't matter if we've got like people who are interacting, there's followers, and you have a community. A community matters more than that end sale, but you might not want to be just attracting your peers when it comes to paid ads or with your SEO. So it kind of varies in that sense, right? Amazing. I think on the side of like peers and clients and content marketing, I think one big takeaway for me as like, you know, I spend more years in digital marketing is starting to learn that the more tools that there are out there and the more that we can automate things, the more important it is for us to actually have expertise and be humans and think like other humans. It's more like about relationships in the end than, you know, the tools and the monitoring, the reporting and the data. Anyone else have anything to input?
There's another.
Sorry, you go, boy. No, sorry, you first.
There's another really great takeaway that I really enjoyed, which is really thinking about how you frame your narrative and solving your audience's problems, right? If you think of it as either hero and a villain and like a guide, who are you in the story of your audience? Like, you don't have to be the hero. Your audience might be the hero and you're just the support to help make those things happen, right? And I just think that it's such a interesting way to see how you are solving problems with whatever you're offering your audience.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mistake if you think of yourself as the brand, as the hero, because you do want to position somebody else there to say like, I'm going to help you and I'm going to guide you through. And I think that's a great mindset shift to have, to stop, you know, centering yourself, because often when it comes too much down to ego, I think like Dan has said this before, he was like, I don't care about pages. And I was like, I love about pages. Like, I want to know what's going on, but you can't make it too much about yourself. And it's more like how you can benefit that audience, that user, that person that you're trying to sell to. Marino, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, she took the words from my mouth.
Was
But
it
actually, it's
the
about
same
just to add on the email side of the things. It's exactly like that. When you try to position yourself as the main point of reference, you make a big mistake. Actually, you have to address the customer's problems, and then from that particular moment, they will start to pay attention to you. And then you reframe your message addressing the solutions instead of your problems. Actually, your problem is not the end of the journey, but the median, the tool that we're using to promote the solution that your audience is looking for. It's all about how you reframe the message in a way that you, in fact, are addressing the audience's problems instead of the products that you offer.
I think that's exactly the problem that we're always faced with as marketers, is finding or narrowing down that problem statement and saying what that solution is that we're presenting, right? It's always problem solution. And that's like one of our values that we always talk about, is that it's our core value that everyone's a creative. So as much as you say like we're marketers, or like the design side is creative, we always say like we are all creatives because we're just solving problems constantly. And even once we solve that main problem, there's always like something, a roadblock or something that throws us off track that we have to reposition ourselves towards. Other takeaways from anyone?
There are honestly so many takeaways. I wish more were like coming to my head right now, but I found some of the things that were most interesting were the things around like consumer behavior. So I think we've touched on it a lot already, but you know, there's, when you bring psychology into the mix, you know, there's a lot of like minor tactical changes that you can make on your ads and like in your narrative to just like help the reader sort of just understand your product or service better. And one thing that I thought was like really interesting, although it's almost kind of sad, ads that are easier to read and have like a lower like grade of literacy outperform words or ads that try to like, I don't know, sound like exquisite, like use words that, you know, are like a higher level of reading, just from like a grade 10 level to like a grade 7 level. It makes a big difference. So, but at the end of the day, if you think about it from a psychology perspective, when people are scrolling through Instagram, you know, it's like the end of the day, you don't want to be reading about like in-depth, like details. You just want to be amused and entertained. So when ads are just, they just get right to the point. It's like, this is what this product does, and this is the problem that it is solving. Those are the ones that are going to be most successful. So sometimes it isn't just about dumbing it down, but it's just like making it easier, because there is so much content out there, and you don't want to add like another layer that someone might say no to, you know what I mean? So
I think we're all in the business of the attention economy, I guess you would call it. Like it's what we're competing for is people's attention, and it's not your ad versus another person's ad, right? It's your ad versus this hilarious cat video versus like these cool stunts versus somebody dancing versus whatever else they're browsing through. So it's not like somebody's just like happening upon, a series of ads all in a row. It's not like a classifieds. It's like interspersed amongst their content that they're trying to entertain themselves with.
yeah, and who's gonna compete with a kitten video or like a dog playing with like bubbles? Like you can't.
I know.
It's impossible.
We're even learning that ourselves. We're like, oh, so people like our dogs more than they like us on social. So.
Oh right, yeah. Bowie, spit some stats. Ellie is more popular than me. Shoot.
That's right.
But even worse, I think, with our level of attention, my level of attention, let's say as human, overall speaking, I believe that every single year by year, we are dedicating less time to pay attention on something. So consequently, it's a big challenge as well.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was in this conference or maybe an article I read after, but it was, the statement essentially was that, there's a lot of stats out there that say our attention span is getting shorter and shorter. But essentially the stat said that's not true. It's just where we're putting our attention is changing a lot. Because I'm sure all of you have no problem watching a 3-hour movie and paying attention to it, or watching a full series of shows on a weekend, but it's just like where you want to put your attention. Anyone with anything to add about attention spans?
Yeah, I think that really has to do with us wanting things that give us value. And that's something, at least on social, people really tend to forget that it isn't always about you. You need to give more than you're taking.
That's true. Like if you are trying to start growing, if you're starting a community, the part of it that a lot of people forget is the engagement, or actually going out there and talking to other people, because we all feel like we have this platform, a sudden like a soapbox, a place that you can post things that's dedicated to you, your business, etc. But if you're just shouting things out, like it's so transparent to your audience that you're just trying to make a sale, you're just trying to advertise yourself, and there's like no value that you're getting out of it. And that's like a follower gap situation, right? Like people seeing like, okay, it looks really polished. It's lots of like, a well-matched branding type content. But if it doesn't bring any value, there's like no value in really following there.
Yeah, even with talking about attention span, even with content, like trying to find that balance for on-page content, like you don't want it too thin that you're not really educating or putting out like whatever the services are, and then you don't want it too long either, where it's like so much content below the fold, you're just constantly scrolling down, because you don't want to overwhelm your users with what you're speaking about. Whereas like blogs, that's you can be a little bit more creative or funny or humorous, or talk about a range of different topics, right? So yeah, just trying to find that balance all the time of like, okay, attention span, what you want to talk about, and making sure you're getting getting to the point, but at the same time not too quickly, right? Because you don't want just like 2 sentences. Yeah, there's the page, we're done.
What's like a good example of like this has gone too far? Recipes, like where like it's like recipes are blogs technically, right? Like there's always like a big long list of something. But have you guys ever looked up a recipe and it's like it starts with like, back when my grandma taught me how to make cookies, like she would do this, and there's like just like this huge essay about things. in order to, I don't know, tell like a longer story, have like more depth of content, and you're just like, where's the recipe? Like I live for that jump to recipe button.
Yeah, and then it's just like in 1792 in like Tuscany, these chocolate chips were, and you're like, I don't care about the history of chocolate chips. Like, tell me how to make my cookies.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like the part that's like gone too far on the side of like adding tons of value and personality and everything, where it's like a trope now that people just make fun of like long recipes.
It's so funny though about that notion of like, attention span and like content length and in the importance in different sectors. Site speed is so underrated, and there was one video that really talked about the importance of it. Some sites are just trying to put too much like video and they're not embedding it properly, or they have the wrong server. If like people, in the LTE data times of today, people expect websites to load very fast. And if your site takes like 4 to 5 seconds per page, like they're already gone. Like they're bouncing quite literally. The bounce rate is increasing. And so there's a lot of, when you go into Google Analytics and you look at all the different percentages, it goes a long way to look at all those different rates and the speeds and whatnot. And Google, like those are all signals that Google takes into consideration as well. So I'm sure Dan speak for an hour about that kind of stuff, but very, very important.
Yeah, I would say that's like an often forgotten one about your site speed and your site performance. When clients ask us like, how long is my site going to last, or like, when do I need a new one? There's like this time in around like the 5 to 8 year mark where sites are slowing down, but it's not a result of like the original build or anything. It's that very often companies change so much, so they start to layer on more pages and more sections and more tools and more widgets that it just gets really unwieldy around that like 5 year mark. So yeah, definitely. The performance is so often overlooked. Okay, so I think I want to conclude like very simply to give like a straight up answer from everyone. AdWorld is already selling their tickets for next year. So we got to pitch to, our company, like, do we want to go again? I want to hear from everyone. Would you go again? And why?
I'll say I'm going to start it off this time. I'm going to go with yes, because I hope that it's in person this time. So hopefully, everyone's all vaccinated and this pandemic's over, and then just to meet, just to go in person and enjoy that type of experience that we all miss, as you can see, that we all talked about, right? Like besides the swag, the food, but also like to see your competitors, right? Like you see their actual faces. You're like, oh, that's who they are too, right? But yeah, so like I would love, I would go again, because what I learned online, to learn that in person, and I bet the questions, the FAQs and stuff like that would be different. So I would say yes.
I can't wait to have lunch next year. Who else?
I would say yes too. It's always important to have a chance to learn something new and implement something that can help our clients and ourselves as well.
Yeah, I think the variety in the content was just so great for every member of this team.
Yep.
Who else?
I'll go next. I mean, of course, they're from the breadth of the topics and the speakers, and everyone is like the CEO or like head product manager of all these big like Fortune 500 tech companies, and the insights are amazing. One thing, as an advertising agency with 30 plus clients, we do have all these great insights that we can extract from different campaigns. And even though we have clients in different industries and sectors, there are insights that can be extrapolated and can apply to different sectors. But from AdWorld conference, they have like multi-million-dollar budgets, and the campaigns are reaching like the world. Like one video is a guy from Lithuania who's got an agency in Europe, and then the next speaker is from the States. Then there's a speaker from Canada. So you get all these great insights and findings. And being able to put it all together in like a blog or, just, I don't know about you guys, but I've got pages of notes and it's also applicable. Some of it is very tactical, but other forms of notes are more strategic. So it's great to have a bit of both.
I think a big part of it being Ad World and having so many international participants is that everything in digital is just making the world smaller. It's all very accessible. Who else? Michael, would you go again?
Command D.
I'm no longer on mute. I have solved the problem. Yeah, so from my perspective, I thought as far as they could have handled it being completely online, I think they did a really solid job. I don't know how much better they could have put together an online conference like this that was so comprehensive, had so many great variety of speakers and really good quality conversations that were being had. I would love to go in person, as Daniel said. Fingers crossed we can do that next year. But yeah, just so many valuable insights that were gained, and I thought it was really valuable for the education for our team. And I think we have lots of insights that we're going to carry into our work for from now on.
I know, and they have replays since it was all digital for like the next. It's 4 weeks that they're available. So I know, Michael, you said there's like even more that you want to watch. So
absolutely,
I think that part of it being digital has been like really valuable, being able to suggest to each other. I saw this one, you've got to watch it. Whereas like when we went to in-person ones in the past, it was like, I saw this one, wish you could have been there. Sorry. Like,
yeah, you missed it.
Yeah. And Bowie, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm all game for it. I think for me, it was the same reasons that Brian mentioned, where you get so many experts from all over coming in to speak in depth about their experiences and their expertise and how they've been able to create success for their clients.
Yeah.
Instead of you having to invest dollars and invest your clients' dollars, you already have some data and some expertise to reference. And that was really valuable to me.
Amazing. Okay, so I think that's a perfect wrap up for us. In conclusion, unanimous across the digital marketing team, everyone says they would attend Ad World Conference again. So if you watched this far, thank you for watching our discussion on Ad World Conference. If you'd like to learn more about our digital marketing services, you can go to envision.co.